The stars seemed dimmer these days, not just to the people on Earth, but to everyone in the Galactic Coalition. A darkness was spreading across space, planet by planet, system by system. They called themselves the Voidrakers. For 6 years, they had moved through the galaxy like a disease, leaving broken worlds behind them. Their massive ships would appear in orbit, broadcast their demands, and then, when those demands weren't met, they would attack without mercy. No one knew what they looked like. No one knew what they wanted beyond conquest. All anyone knew was that where the Voidrakers went, hope died. On the blue-lit bridge of Luna Command, Admiral Gregory Powell stared at the screen with tired eyes. The message from the Coalition Council had arrived an hour ago. He had watched it 20 times since then. "The Centauri systems have fallen," said the alien with 4 arms and skin like polished copper. 3 billion lives. Gone. We have nothing left to send against them. Our fleets are destroyed. Our best warriors are dead. The alien's voice shook. The Voidrakers are heading toward your sector next. Toward Earth. Powell rubbed his face. Earth had kept to itself since joining the Coalition. Humans were newcomers to galactic society. They traded, they learned, but they mostly stayed in their own system. The other species thought humans were strange, too aggressive, too unpredictable. Now those same species were begging for help. Powell pressed a button on his desk. "Send in Captain Harmon." The door slid open moments later. Captain Lisa Harmon walked in with a straight back and calm eyes. At 42, she had spent half her life in space. Her short brown hair was streaked with gray, and a thin scar ran along her jaw, a reminder of the Mars Colony Rebellion 10 years ago. "You wanted to see me, sir?" she asked. Powell nodded toward the chair across from his desk. "Sit down, Lisa. I have bad news." He played the message again. Lisa watched without blinking, her face giving nothing away. "The Voidrakers," Powell said when it ended. "They've destroyed everyone who's faced them. Now they're coming here. And the Coalition wants our help," Lisa said. It wasn't a question. "Yes, funny, isn't it? For years they've called us violent, primitive. Now they need those qualities." Lisa leaned forward. "What exactly are you asking me to do, sir?" Powell pressed another button. A hologram appeared between them, a massive warship unlike anything in Earth's fleet. It was shaped like an arrowhead, black as space itself, with weapons systems that made Lisa's eyes widen. "This is the U.S. Defiant," Powell said. "We built her in secret. The Coalition doesn't know about her. No one does except the highest levels of Earth Command." "She's beautiful," Lisa whispered. "She's yours," Powell replied, "if you accept this mission." Lisa looked up sharply. "One ship, against an enemy that's destroyed entire fleets." Powell smiled thinly. "This isn't just any ship, Captain. The Defiant carries technology no one in the galaxy has seen before, and it will have you and a crew chosen specifically for this mission." He stood and walked to the window. The Earth hung in space before them, blue and peaceful. "The Coalition species evolved toward peace," he said quietly. "They gave up their violent instincts centuries ago. That's why they can't beat the Voidrakers." He turned to face her. "But humans never had that luxury. We've been fighting our whole history. It's in our blood." Lisa stood as well, her mind already racing with preparations. "When do we leave?" "Immediately. The Defiant is ready. Your crew is waiting." Powell held out his hand. "The fate of Earth is in your hands, Captain. But more than that, the fate of every free world in the galaxy." Lisa took his hand and shook it firmly. "We won't let them down, sir." Her eyes hardened with determination. "The Voidrakers have never faced humans before. They have no idea what's coming for them." As Lisa walked out of the office, Powell watched her go. He wasn't a religious man, but he found himself whispering a prayer for Captain Harmon and her crew. They would need all the help they could get. The shuttle carrying Lisa docked with the massive space station hidden behind Mars. Through the viewport, she saw the U.S. Defiant for the first time with her own eyes. The images hadn't done it justice. The warship was huge, nearly a mile long, with a dark hull that seemed to swallow light rather than reflect it. Unlike the smooth, elegant ships of the Coalition species, the Defiant was built like a fortress. Heavy armor plating, weapons systems that jutted out from strategic points. It didn't look pretty. It looked deadly. Impressive, isn't she? Lisa turned to see a tall man with copper skin and bright eyes extended his hand. Alan Rodriguez, chief engineer. I've been with this project since day one. Lisa shook his hand. Captain Lisa Harmon. Tell me what makes this ship special, Chief. Alan grinned. Follow me. They floated through the station's zero-gravity corridors until they reached a large observation room overlooking the Defiant's main hangar. Hundreds of workers moved around the ship, making final preparations. Most Coalition species grew up without war, Alan explained. They forgot how to fight. Humans never had that chance. He pointed to different parts of the ship. Every weapon humans have ever made, we've improved and put on that ship. Lisa pressed her hand against the glass. What can she do? The front section houses our main weapon, a railgun that fires tungsten rods at near light speed. No shield in the galaxy can stop them. Alan's eyes lit up as he spoke. We have gravity bombs that create small black holes. Armor made from materials so tough they can take direct hits from energy weapons. And the crew? Lisa asked. 300 of Earth's best. Soldiers, scientists, pilots, all trained for this mission. The station's gravity returned as they entered a new section. A woman in a Marine uniform was waiting for them. She had dark skin, sharp eyes, and stood with perfect posture. Captain Harmon, she said with a crisp salute. Major Olivia Wright, commanding the Marine detachment on the Defiant. Lisa returned the salute. Major, tell me about your people. 3 platoons of the best fighters Earth has produced. We've been training for 2 years for this mission specifically. Pride filled Olivia's voice. While the Coalition species were forgetting how to fight, we were perfecting it. Lisa nodded. I want a full combat drill once we're underway. Yes, Captain. Alan led Lisa deeper into the station, to a heavily guarded laboratory. They passed through 3 security checkpoints before reaching a thick metal door. This is why we'll win, Alan said quietly. The door opened to reveal a small room with a single object in the center. A device about the size of a basketball, glowing with a soft blue light. A thin man with gray hair stood beside it, making notes on a tablet. He looked up as they entered. Captain Harmon, this is Dr. Frank Miller, Alan said, lead scientist on the Prometheus protocol. Frank nodded seriously. Captain. Lisa looked at the glowing device. What is it? Our last resort, Frank said. The Voidrakers use advanced technology, but they still follow the laws of physics. This device temporarily changes those laws in a limited area. Lisa's eyes widened. That's impossible. 2 years ago, I would have agreed with you. Frank adjusted his glasses. But here we are. What does it do exactly? Lisa asked. Frank hesitated. Imagine you could change the value of gravity, or make light move slower, or alter how atoms bind together. For 30 seconds, in a sphere about 5 miles wide, this device can rewrite the rules that hold reality together. Lisa stared at the small device. And what happens to anything caught in that sphere? It comes apart, Frank said simply, down to the atomic level. Silence fell in the small room. Captain, Alan said after a moment, we need to finish your tour. Your bridge crew is waiting to meet you. As they walked back toward the main section, Lisa's mind raced. One ship against an enemy that had destroyed worlds. It seemed impossible. But maybe with these weapons, with this crew, they had a chance. She stepped onto the bridge of the Defiant for the first time. 5 people stood at attention, the best in their fields. Her command crew. Captain on the bridge. Someone called. Lisa looked at their faces, determined, ready, brave. At ease, she said. Let's get to work. We have a galaxy to save. The U.S. Defiant moved silently through space, its engines barely making a sound despite their enormous power. The ship had traveled for 3 days at speeds that made stars blur outside the viewports. Now they were approaching the edge of the Tau Ceti system, where the Voidraker fleet had been spotted last. On the bridge, Captain Lisa Harmon sat in her command chair, watching the main screen carefully. The atmosphere was tense. No one spoke unless necessary. "Captain," called Samuel Chen from the communication station. "I'm picking up a transmission." Lisa turned. "Let's hear it." Samuel hesitated. "It's not pleasant, Captain." "Play it anyway." The main screen changed to show scenes of destruction. Planets burning. Cities falling. People of different alien species running in terror as massive ships darkened their skies. Then came the screams, the last cries of dying worlds. Several crew members looked away. Lisa forced herself to watch every second. When it ended, Samuel spoke softly. "That's what they broadcast before every attack. It's psychological warfare. They want to scare their enemies before they even arrive." "They expect fear," Lisa said, standing up from her chair. Her voice was calm and strong. "Let's show them something different." She turned to Samuel. "Send them our own message. Show them Earth's history. Show them our wars, our battles. Show them that humans have faced destruction before and never surrendered." Samuel worked quickly. Within minutes, he had prepared a transmission showing Earth's long history of conflict. Ancient battles with swords and spears, world wars with tanks and planes, and finally, humanity's expansion into space. The message ended with a simple statement: "We are humanity. We do not fear you." "Message sent, Captain," Samuel reported. Lisa nodded. "Now we wait." They didn't wait long. "Captain," called Eric Johnson from Tactical. "A ship has broken off from the main Voidraker fleet. It's heading straight for us." Lisa studied the readings. The approaching vessel was smaller than the main Voidraker ships, but still twice the size of the Defiant. "They're sending a scout to test us," she said. "Standard procedure based on what they did to other coalition worlds. They send one ship first to check for resistance." "What are your orders?" Eric asked, his hand hovering over the weapons controls. Lisa walked to the front of the bridge, looking at the growing dot on the screen that represented the enemy ship. "Power up all weapons," she ordered, "but hold fire until I give the command." The minutes ticked by slowly as the Voidraker scout approached. On the screen, they could now see its shape, like a giant black spider with legs that curved forward, each tipped with what looked like weapons. "They're scanning us," Samuel reported. "Let them look," Lisa replied. "They won't understand what they're seeing anyway." The Voidraker ship stopped at a distance that was just within weapons range. "They're charging weapons," Eric shouted. Lisa's eyes narrowed. "So it begins. Target their main weapon systems and fire." The Defiant came to life. Along its hull, massive rail guns swiveled into position. With a sound like thunder, they fired tungsten rods at speeds approaching light. On the screen, the crew watched as the projectiles crossed the space between the ships in seconds. The Voidraker scout had powerful shields, technology that had protected them against the energy weapons of the Coalition. But they had never faced kinetic weapons of this power before. The tungsten rods tore through their shields like paper and smashed into the ship's hull. The enemy vessel fired back, beams of green energy that splashed against the Defiant's armor. Warning lights flashed on Eric's console. "Shields holding at 80%, he reported. "Their weapons are strong, but not as strong as we feared." "Fire again," Lisa ordered. "All forward batteries." The Defiant unleashed a second barrage, this time targeting the scout's engines. The tungsten rods found their mark, and explosions bloomed along the enemy ship's rear section. The Voidraker vessel turned awkwardly, trailing debris and venting atmosphere into space. With a flash of light, it jumped away, retreating back to its fleet. A cheer went up from the bridge crew. But Lisa raised her hand for silence. "That was just the beginning," she said quietly. "Now they know we can fight. Next time, they'll send something much worse." She returned to her chair, her eyes fixed on the distant stars where the Voidraker main fleet waited. "Prepare for battle stations," she ordered. "The real fight is about to start." The combined fleet of the Liberty Coalition hung in space above the Krell homeworld. It was a beautiful planet with purple oceans and green landmasses, covered by massive organic structures that pulsed with inner light. Admiral Wells stood on the bridge of the flagship, surrounded by representatives from 17 species. "Final status report. Catherine's ultimate weapon is ready," Adam said. "It can disrupt the planetary defense grid long enough for our forces to land." "Samuel's fighter squadrons are in position," Olivia added. "Peter's team is ready for ground insertion." "And the biological agent?" Wells asked. Lisa Morgan stepped forward. "Deployment systems are set. But, sir, I've made a discovery about the Krell that changes everything." Samuel Gray led the first wave of fighters through the planet's upper atmosphere. The Krell defenses opened fire immediately, filling the sky with energy beams. "Evasive patterns," Samuel ordered, "just like we practiced." His squadron scattered, each pilot following their own unpredictable path. The Krell automated defenses, designed to target logical flight patterns, struggled to lock onto the chaotic human movements. "Catherine's weapon is online," came the report from the flagship. "Firing now." A massive pulse of energy washed over the planet. The Krell defensive grid flickered and went dark. Samuel felt a moment of triumph as his fighters swarmed toward the main control complex. "Ground team is away," he reported, watching Peter's dropships descend toward the surface. "We'll keep the skies clear." Peter Martinez led his team through the massive hive structure. Unlike previous Krell installations, this one was eerily quiet. "They're not fighting back," Frank noted uneasily. "Why?" "They're confused," Peter replied. "Diana's disruption signals, Lisa's biological agent, Karen's psychological warfare. It's all hitting them at once." They reached the central chamber without resistance. Inside was a sight no alien species had ever seen, the physical form of the Krell's supreme consciousness. It resembled an enormous brain-like structure, pulsing with bioluminescent light. "We're in position," Peter reported, "ready to plant the final charges." "Wait," came Lisa's voice over the comm. "Don't destroy it. We need to establish communication." Diana Miller's voice joined in. "I'm sending a direct communication protocol. The consciousness wants to speak with us." On the flagship, a holographic image formed. A Krell figure, but different from the warriors they had fought. This one seemed older, wiser. "Humans," it spoke, its voice translated through Diana's program. "You have done what no species has ever accomplished. You have broken our unity. We're prepared to destroy your central consciousness," Admiral Wells said firmly. "But we prefer another solution." "What solution could there be between conquerors and the conquered?" the Krell asked. Adam stepped forward. "Neither. We offer integration, not elimination." "Explain," the Krell demanded. Lisa joined Adam. "Your species evolved as a collective, never knowing individuality. It made you efficient but unchanging. Our scans show your evolution has stagnated for millennia. While fighting you," Adam continued, "we discovered that Krell separated from the hive mind begin to develop unique personalities. They become individuals capable of creativity and growth." "And this is preferable to unity?" the Krell asked. "Unity without diversity leads to stagnation," Adam replied. "Diversity without unity leads to chaos. The true strength comes from balancing both." The negotiations lasted 3 days. When they ended, a new era began. The Krell central consciousness agreed to a fundamental change. Each Krell would retain a connection to the collective, but also develop individual identity. In the following months, the Liberty Coalition transformed into the Galactic Assembly. Former enemies became partners in rebuilding worlds damaged by centuries of war. Adam Carter stood with Lisa Morgan on the observation deck, watching as human and Krell engineers worked together on a new type of ship, one that combined the best technologies of both species. They're adapting quickly, Lisa noted. Once they embraced individuality, their creativity blossomed. And they've taught us the value of better coordination, Adam replied. Each species contributing its strengths. Beyond the window, representatives from dozens of worlds gathered in the newly constructed assembly hall. At its center, a monument depicted figures from all species standing together, a testament to the day when the unstoppable force met the one species stubborn enough to change the rules. No one could stop them, Lisa said, recalling the old saying about the Krell. Until humans arrived, Adam finished with a smile. Not to destroy them, but to show them a different way. They're coming back, Eric Johnson said from his tactical station. His voice was steady, but his knuckles were white as he gripped the edge of his console. 5 warships this time. Captain Lisa Harmon stood in the center of the Defiance Bridge, studying the main screen. The 5 Voidraker ships moved in perfect formation, their black hulls gleaming in the light of Ta City's sun. Each one was 3 times larger than the scout they had faced earlier. A force this size destroyed the entire Arcturus defense fleet, Samuel Chen said quietly. Lisa nodded. And now they think they'll do the same to us. She turned to the rest of her bridge crew. Status report. Weapons at full power, Eric replied. Rail guns loaded and ready. Gravity bombs primed. Engines at maximum efficiency, added Navigation Officer Karen Martinez. All systems green. Lisa touched a small panel on her chair arm. The ship's AI tactical system activated, its calm voice filling the bridge. Tactical analysis complete, it said. Voidраker formation designed to trap ships attempting standard evasive maneuvers. Recommend unconventional approach. Karen looked up from her station. They expect us to act like the coalition ships, to play it safe, to run when overwhelmed. Then we'll surprise them, Lisa said with a small smile. Duncan, show me attack pattern Omega-3. The AI displayed a flight path on the main screen. It showed the Defiant flying directly into the center of the enemy formation. Captain, Eric said, his eyes wide. That's crazy. Lisa finished for him. Yes, and that's why they won't expect it. She turned to Karen. Set course, maximum speed. Yes, Captain. Karen's fingers danced over her controls. The Defiant surged forward, its engines blazing as it accelerated toward the approaching Voidраker ships. On the enemy vessels, weapon systems began to glow as they prepared to fire. They're confused, Samuel reported, reading the enemy communications. They didn't expect us to attack. Their confusion is our advantage, Lisa said. Fire gravity bombs, wide dispersal. From the Defiant's forward section, 6 small objects launched toward the Voidраker formation. They were hardly bigger than soccer balls, but each contained technology that could bend the fabric of space itself. The bombs detonated between the enemy ships. There was no explosion, no flash of light, just a sudden, violent distortion of space. 2 of the Voidраker vessels, caught in the edge of the effect, were pulled toward each other. Their hulls crumpled as they collided, and secondary explosions bloomed across their surfaces. 2 ships critically damaged, Eric reported, his voice now excited. The other 3 are trying to regroup. Take us through, Lisa ordered. Karen's hands moved with incredible speed. The Defiant executed a series of sharp turns that would have killed any non-human crew due to the G-forces involved. Only the ship's advanced inertial dampeners made such maneuvers possible. The Defiant shot through the gap created by the destroyed ships, emerging behind the 3 remaining Voidраker vessels. We're in their blind spot, Eric said. They're trying to turn, but we're faster. Target their engines and fire everything, Lisa commanded. The Defiant unleashed its full arsenal. Rail guns fired salvos of tungsten rods. Plasma torpedoes launched from tubes along the hull. even conventional explosives, technology the Coalition had abandoned centuries ago, streaked toward the enemy ships. The Voidraker vessels tried to raise their shields, but they were too slow. The combined barrage overwhelmed their defenses. One ship broke apart immediately, its reactor exploding in a brief bright flash. Another spun out of control, venting atmosphere and debris. The final ship managed to turn and fire a single shot that rocked the Defiant. Damage alarms sounded on the bridge. Minimal damage to Deck 3, Security Chief Paul Jackson reported. No casualties. Target that last ship, Lisa ordered. Don't let it escape. The Defiant's weapons found their mark again. The final Voidraker ship shuddered under the impact, then turned and fled, accelerating away from the battle at maximum speed. Should we pursue? Karen asked. Lisa shook her head. Let it go. Let it tell its masters what happened here today. The bridge fell silent as the reality of what they had accomplished sank in. 5 Voidraker warships, a force that had destroyed entire fleets, had been defeated by a single human vessel. They'll adapt their tactics now, Paul warned. The next wave will be ready for our weapons. Good, Lisa replied, her eyes fixed on the distant stars where the main Voidraker fleet waited. Let them come prepared for our weapons. They still won't be prepared for our creativity. The bridge of the Defiant was quiet. The crew worked at their stations, repairing damage and preparing for the next battle. They had won their first real fight against the Voidrakers, but everyone knew it was just the beginning. Captain Lisa Harmon stood looking at the main screen, which showed the distant cluster of lights that was the main Voidraker fleet. For now, they were holding position, not advancing. It meant they were planning something. Movement in the enemy fleet, Eric Johnson reported suddenly from Tactical. His voice was tense. One ship is moving forward. It's huge. The main screen zoomed in to show a massive vessel separating from the Voidraker fleet. It was at least 10 times larger than any of the ships they had faced so far. Its black hull was shaped like a giant arrowhead with spikes jutting out from all sides. That's the Oblivion, Samuel Chen said quietly. The Voidraker command ship. It's never entered combat before. They've never needed it to. Lisa felt a chill run down her spine, but she kept her face calm. Her crew needed her confidence now more than ever. They're transmitting, Samuel reported, surprised. It's a direct communication request. Lisa straightened her uniform. Put it on screen. The image of space disappeared, replaced by something that made several crew members gasp. For the first time, humans were seeing what a Voidraker looked like. The alien was tall and thin, with gray skin that seemed to shimmer slightly. It had a long face with 4 pairs of eyes arranged in a vertical line. Each eye was a different color, from deep purple at the top to bright yellow at the bottom. It had no visible mouth, but when it spoke, the sound seemed to come from its chest. Unusual species, the Voidraker commander said. Its voice was deep and musical, almost pleasant, which made its words even more disturbing. You have earned the right to surrender with dignity. Your ship and its technology will be studied. Your planet will be preserved as a military resource. Resistance beyond this point will result in the complete destruction of your homeworld. Lisa stepped forward, making sure she was in full view of the transmission. This is Captain Lisa Harmon of the Earth vessel Defiant, she said clearly. We've thought about your offer and prepared a response that follows our cultural traditions. She nodded to Samuel, who pressed a button on his console. The screen split to show an image of a human hand with one finger extended, the middle one. That's humanity's oldest response to bullies, Lisa added with a small smile. The Voidraker commander's many eyes blinked one after another, like lights going down a line. Then you will see the full power of the Oblivion before you die, it said. The transmission cut off. That felt good, Karen Martinez said from her navigation station. Enjoy it while you can, Lisa replied. Because they're about to throw everything they have at us. She turned to Eric. Status of their command ship. Eric studied his console. The Oblivion is powering up what looks like its main weapon system. Energy readings are off the charts. I've never seen anything like it. On the screen, they could see the front of the massive vessel beginning to glow with an eerie purple light. Space itself seemed to bend around it. "That's their planet killer," Samuel said, his voice shaking slightly. "The weapon they use to destroy worlds that resist them. Intelligence reports say it draws energy from multiple dimensions." Lisa took a deep breath. This was the moment they had prepared for. The moment that would decide the fate of Earth and perhaps the entire galaxy. She pressed the communication panel on her chair. "Dr. Miller, is the Prometheus protocol ready?" Frank Miller's voice came back immediately. "Ready on your command, Captain. But I must remind you, we've never tested this against a real target." "Well, we're about to," Lisa said. She looked around the bridge at her crew, humans who had trained their whole lives for this moment. "I need everyone at their best," she told them. "We have one chance to do this right. If we fail, there won't be an Earth to go back to." She sat down in her captain's chair, her mind already formulating a plan. "Karen, set course directly for the Oblivion. Maximum speed." Karen looked back, surprised. "You want to go straight at their main weapon?" "That's exactly what I want," Lisa said. Her eyes were fixed on the massive enemy ship. "They think we're afraid. Let's show them how wrong they are. They think we're running away," Eric said as he watched the enemy ships move to block their escape routes. "Let them think that," Lisa replied, her eyes never leaving the main screen. The massive shape of the Oblivion grew larger as they approached. Its front section now glowed so brightly that the screen had to dim the image to protect the crew's eyes. "Status of the Prometheus protocol?" Lisa asked. Dr. Frank Miller stood at a special console at the back of the bridge. His hands moved quickly over the controls of the device they had brought from Earth. "Ready to deploy, Captain," he answered. "But we need to get closer. The protocol has a limited range." "How close?" Lisa asked. Frank hesitated. "Within 10 miles of their ship." A shocked silence fell over the bridge. 10 miles in space was practically touching. "Their weapon will fire in 3 minutes," Eric reported, his voice tight. "If we're too close when that happens, then we won't be too close," Lisa said firmly. "Karen, plot a course that will bring us within 10 miles of the Oblivion central section, then immediately away at maximum speed." Karen's fingers flew over her controls. "Course plotted, Captain. But even at maximum speed, we'll only have seconds to get away after deployment." Lisa nodded. "That's all we need." She pressed her chair communication panel. "All hands, secure for extreme maneuvers. This is not a drill." Throughout the massive ship, crew members strapped themselves into safety harnesses. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Alan Rodriguez personally checked every system. One failure now would mean death for everyone. On the bridge, Lisa watched as the distance between the ships decreased rapidly. The Oblivion was so huge that it now filled the entire view screen. Its planet killer weapon continued to charge, creating visible distortions in space around it. "They're trying to lock weapons on us," Eric reported. "But our speed and trajectory are confusing their targeting systems." "Good," Lisa said. "Keep it that way." Smaller Voidraker ships moved to intercept them, but they were too slow. The Defiant, powered by humanity's most advanced engines, was simply too fast. 1 minute to minimum deployment distance," Frank called out. Lisa felt her heart pounding in her chest. Everything, Earth's survival, the freedom of the galaxy, depended on what happened in the next few minutes. "Prepare to deploy on my mark," she ordered. The Defiant screamed toward the Oblivion like an arrow. The massive enemy flagship, so confident in its power, held position as its weapon continued to charge. "They think we're attempting a suicide attack," Paul Jackson observed from his security station. "They don't believe we have anything that can hurt them." 30 seconds to deployment range, Frank reported. Lisa gripped the arms of her chair. "Karen, be ready to execute evasive pattern Delta immediately after deployment." "Yes, Captain," The seconds ticked down as the Defiant closed the final distance. The Oblivion now loomed so large it seemed to fill all of space. Deployment range reached, Frank announced. Deploy now, Lissa ordered. Frank pressed a sequence of controls. From a special compartment in the Defiant's hull, a small probe launched toward the Oblivion. It looked tiny and harmless against the massive enemy flagship. Probe away, Frank confirmed. Prometheus protocol active. Execute evasive pattern, Lisa shouted. Karen's hands flew across her controls. The Defiant banked hard, its engines screaming as they pushed to maximum power. The ship shuddered under the strain, but held together. On the screen, they watched as the small probe attached itself to the Oblivion's hull. For a moment, nothing happened. Did it work? Someone whispered. Then reality itself seemed to fold around the massive Voidwrecker ship. There was no explosion, no dramatic flash of light. Just a strange, rippling effect that spread across the Oblivion's hull. Areas of the ship began to warp and bend in impossible ways as the fundamental laws of physics changed within the affected zone. The Oblivion's own power systems, its very mass and energy, became its undoing. The ship didn't explode. It imploded, collapsing in on itself as the altered physics caused chain reactions throughout its structure. "My God," Karen whispered, watching the sensors. It worked. The bridge crew watched in stunned silence as the mighty Oblivion, terror of the galaxy, crumpled like paper and vanished in a flash of light that momentarily outshone the nearby sun. The Prometheus protocol had worked better than anyone had dared to hope.